We cannot let this go. Thank you for your call, Dougie. Let's go to Calvin in Brooklyn, New York. Calvin.
Okay, now, how's everything?
Everything's good.
Good. I was calling because I wanted to get your take on what we've seen with the Democratic response to a lot of this Republican racism and all this other stuff that we've seen with the Republicans over the last few years. You know, voter suppression has been with us for several years now. And the Democrats, with the exception of Maxine Waters and, of course, yourself and Reverend Barber and a few others, have really spoken out and really tried to fight against this. And yet I have not seen the Democrats really stand up and have a sustained, forceful response to any of this stuff from the Republicans. I mean, they've allowed the Republicans to lie and lie again. They've allowed them to gerrymander the districts all across the country. And yet we don't see where they are standing up and fighting. I mean,
well, you know, I was puzzled, Calvin, by your question when you said you wanted to know my opinion of the Democratic response, because I haven't seen one. I think that they've been missing in action. I think that in many ways they have allowed this hysteria to go out of bounds. And I think the critical thing you said is in the interim, they being the right wing, have made some solid and some long-standing changes that's going to take a lot for us to undo, but we're going to have to undo them. When you talk about gerrymandering, which you mentioned, and Eric Holder, the former Attorney General, laid this out at National Action Network's convention. When they've redrawn these lines, we all keep talking, Calvin and Jenny, about the midterm elections. There are some seats that have been gerrymandered that are going to be hard to turn around because they have been drawn, the lines have been drawn in such a way that these right-wingers are going to be comfortably reelected. We should be calling out, Calvin, the silence from the Democratic Party that has sat there and allowed these things to happen. We are caught up in this noise and this echo chamber with Trump not realizing even why justifiably he's having his feet put to the fire about Russia and every other thing. I mean, they're down to talk about how long he shakes hands. While he's doing those distractions, they have put somebody on the Supreme Court. They have defunded and cut back on the civil rights departments of every major federal agency. He has effectively reversed a lot, and he hasn't even been in there 150 days. We cannot just allow him to dictate the public discussion on public policy, and the Democratic leadership has done that. We should say, wait a minute, I don't care how long he shakes hands with the president of France, he is talking about cutting Medicaid by the billions. He's talking about cutting out the Civil Rights Department and the Department of Labor, Department of Education, Environmental Protection Agency, and the Justice Department. I don't care how long he holds hands with the president of France.
I agree with you on that. It just seems to me that the Democrats have been missing in action, that they are not fighters, and they have allowed these Republicans to run all over them and then make the policy and set the agenda going forward. You know, black people, they say, well, you know, black people, y'all need to get out and vote more and stuff like that. But what good is voting if we go out and vote and the vote doesn't count? And that's what gerrymandering has largely done.
Right. In many ways, vote must count for folks that are standing up for who voted for them, and not enough of that is happening. I thank you for your call. Let me remind people again before we lose our 2-hour crowd, because we have a 3-hour crowd, and I'm going to throw it to Andre Eglishaw in the last hour, because I've got to do some TV taping on whatever he says at 3. So Jennifer, you and Andre's going to finish the show. But I want to remind people, Saturday morning, National Action Network, if you're in New